Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you know, and welcome back to another video. I know a lot of people who have wanted to get into cosplay or who want to get into the Comic-Con scene but don't know where to start, and a question that I commonly get asked by these people is, how do I find cons in my local area? In today's video, I'm going to be covering 6 ways that you can find Comic-Cons in your local area, and now I'm not saying that every single city in the world has a Comic-Con because they don't. My personal city doesn't. I live just outside of Portland. My city doesn't have one. We used to have one back in like 2018 or something, but we don't have one, so I always go to the local cities. So you do have to get a little bit flexible in where you go. Don't expect it to just be in your small local town. However, every single state that I've looked at has its own convention. I have been wanting to travel to every state, and I want to still do that someday. I want to travel to every state in the United States, and I found that pretty much every state has a convention. So I'm going to go over some methods of how I find different conventions and how you can start finding different conventions if you want to start going to more Comic-Cons. The first site that I use is one that is more, I would say, celebrity centered, at least for me. You can type in location to figure it out, but I use this site a lot to try and meet specific celebrities if they aren't coming to my city. This site is called RosterCon. When you go to RosterCon, there will be 3 different sections depending on what you're looking for. You can narrow it down by location. RosterCon occasionally does miss smaller cons though, so keep that in mind. You can narrow it down based on location. That will help you find some more in your local area. You probably aren't going to type in your small city and find conventions, so start by typing in your state and using Google Maps to try and see how close or how far things are. I use it, as I said, to find celebrities a lot. If there's a certain celebrity I really want to meet, you can type in their name and it will pull up most of the conventions that they go to. Again, not all the conventions are on RosterCon, so it's very hit or miss, but if you're specifically wanting to look by location or even by TV show and movies, because you can sort based on the fandom, then it's a good site to use to find more conventions. The site that I found that is the most thorough, that lists most of the conventions in each state, is a site called FanCons. I've used FanCons a lot when I'm mapping out future conventions in different states. You essentially just click on the state and it will start listing all the conventions there. Again, it will miss some small ones. A lot of conventions when they're starting out will be small and won't always be able to make it onto these bigger sites. So you have to get a little more creative to find the smaller cons. However, FanCons and RosterCon give you a pretty good idea of cons in your area, especially bigger cons. I also use Facebook events. I know, I'm old. I'm showing my age. I'm old. I use Facebook occasionally, mainly just for Facebook events. Facebook events is useful not only for finding more conventions, but just for finding more stuff to do in your local area. If you are bored in your city, you're like, oh my god, I have a weekend coming up that I'm just so bored, I want to get out of the house. It's a great way to find new activities, and I have found some cons using Facebook events. Facebook events is its own tab within the site or the app, depending on where you use it, and different pages are allowed to create events and put it in there. I have found a few different conventions using Facebook events. Like, I believe this is where I heard about this event for the first time called CoofCon, which is a Comic-Con in Vancouver, Washington that I go to every year. So it is really handy. I don't check it like frequently. I check it maybe like once a month, but if you are really determined to find more Comic-Cons and nerdy events in your area, then it is a good place to consider. I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook because I think it has a lot of problems. I also think it's very stigmatized right now as just for older people, which is fine, but don't write it off as a site to never use if you're looking for more Comic-Cons and cosplay related events in your area. Next up is social media ads. Don't just tap through all those ads right away. If you are getting an ad and you see a cosplayer on it, you see something nerdy, stop and take a peek at what it is. Also, if you're interacting with those ads at all, looking at them longer, like if you go past and you go back, you're feeding the algorithm. And eventually, if you feed the algorithm by interacting with nerdy content, by following Comic-Cons, by following cosplays, you will start getting ads that are centered around conventions or different nerdy things. I went to a convention actually earlier today. It wouldn't be earlier today by the time that this is uploaded, obviously, because this will be up later this week, but I went to Anime Wonder today, and that was one that I found through an Instagram ad. It was one that I probably wouldn't have heard of otherwise, but I got an Instagram ad for it and I was like, let me check this out, and it turned out to be a Comic-Con. It's a bit of a smaller one, but it is a Comic-Con, and it was in Ridgefield, which isn't that far from where I live. So don't write off the ads. I know ads can be annoying, but they can tell you about more conventions. If there's particular actors you like, especially from different niches, for example, if you're really into Genshin Impact or if you're really into Demon Slayer, follow those actors, because those actors often do different events. Not all actors will do events, but especially in the voice acting community, a lot of those actors do conventions, and they oftentimes will post when they have a convention coming up. Now, I say that they oftentimes post when they have a convention coming up. Some will just post literally the day before the event, which isn't the most ideal, but some will post their guest announcements like months before the con. For example, like Christina V, who voices Ladybug and Miraculous, may post in like January that she's going to a con in April, and that gives you plenty of heads up to be like, oh, she has a con coming up. But you will be surprised to find that sometimes you'll follow a celebrity, you'll be paying attention to their posts, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, I'm coming to this city. And you're like, that city is right near me. And so following different actors in those niches can help too. Artists as well. Artists do the same things. Artists who go to a lot of conventions and are nerdy artists will post about their conventions coming up within the next few months. And then the final way is sort of tied in with actors and artists and following people online. If you follow local cosplayers, those cosplayers often post their cosplay lineups, especially if you look on people's bios on Instagram. People will put in their bio next con to let you know what they're going to next. And if they're a local cosplayer, there is a chance that that con will be local to your area. When you're on Instagram, if you're trying to find local cosplayers, if you know, for example, there's one con in the area, like if I know that Rose City Comic Con's in the area, I can look through that hashtag and find local cosplayers. And some cosplayers will list, for example, Portland cosplayer in their bio. Some people will use the hashtags like Portland cosplayer. There are things that will signal that this cosplayer is local to your city, or at least travels to your city a lot, and if they're in your city a lot for different conventions, they will most likely post about other ones that they'll be going to, and that's a great way to find out about new conventions. Conventions grow a lot by word of mouth. They grow by the reputation that they create with the cosplayers and the artists, the community that they foster, and by creating communities and connections, people spread the word about it because they want to gush about conventions that they like. So conventions do try to have a good online presence, and they try and interact with a lot of people in the community who will in turn go and post about the convention online so they get more customers. So those are the tips that I have for people who are looking for more conventions in your local area. Again, not every small city is going to have its own convention, but there is probably some in your state. I'm not sure about a ton of other countries. I know a lot about European conventions just because I have a lot of mutuals who live in Europe, and I know a little bit about Australia and New Zealand conventions, and I know there's quite a bit in Europe, specifically around the UK area, and I know there's quite a bit in Australia and New Zealand. I also say state, but in certain continents, it's much easier to travel between different countries. So if you have the means to travel between different countries, say like you live in, I don't know, France, and there's a convention in Austria, and you can just take a train there, that is a really convenient way to try and go to more conventions. I hope this video was informative. If you found it enjoyable and or informative, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. I recently hit 800 subscribers, which I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful for all of you on here. I feel like YouTube Shorts has really been helping my channel grow, and it's been something I've been having a lot of fun doing. I still, of course, love doing these sit-down talking videos. They are like my comfort hobby to do at the moment, but YouTube Shorts has been a lot of fun, and it has been an area where I've had a lot of growth and interactions with people recently, and it's been really fun. I try and upload one longer video every week, and on the days that I'm not uploading longer videos, I upload YouTube Shorts, so go on over to my YouTube Shorts if you'd like to see some of my cosplays. If you want to see conventions that are upcoming for me, you can check on my Instagram or on my TikTok. In my bio, I normally post what convention I'm going to next, or meetup if there's a meetup I'm going to and it's not a like official convention. I am local to Oregon and Washington, so if you're in the Oregon and Washington area and you're looking for more cons, those are generally the cons that I usually go to. I occasionally travel to other states, but those are the ones that I for sure always go to. I hope all of you are having a great week, and until my next video, everyone, goodbye.